think Sammy and I made a tragic oversight in some of our vacation planning. We were wanting to go on a vacation, a quote unquote vacation, just to get out of town for a little bit for like a weekend. And we wanted somewhere within driving distance that we haven't been to together yet. And so, what did we decide? We decided that we're going to drive to Kansas City in a weekend. We are arriving Friday afternoon next week, and we are departing Sunday. So help me God, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl and somehow there's a parade on that Friday, we are not going to be able to do any of the things that we wanted to do because I think the city will be completely shut down.
Okay, but that'd be pretty cool
I don't want to go
to
to a Chiefs
see.
parade.
Yeah, that's right. You don't like
I
Patrick
think the
Mahomes.
I think the atmosphere would be kind of cool. Like everything would be full and there'd be a lot of good vibes down there. And we checked the weather already, and it's going to be 50 degrees, which is just tropical for us right now. I mean, we walked outside yesterday when it was 20 degrees out, and we're like, this is heaven compared to the minus 15, 16 we had Friday night. That was awful. But yeah, so help me God if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl and the parade is somehow on the Friday. I think it would be on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. Fingers crossed. I think it'd be a little earlier than Friday.
Yeah, they would do it Tuesday or Wednesday almost for sure.
But if somehow it ends up on that Friday, I'm gonna be upset. But you said you'd gone to Memphis. Have you ever stopped on into Kansas City by chance?
I was in Kansas City for a work trip the weekend before the world shut down in 2020.
Oh,
Also, right after a Chiefs Super Bowl. Well, a couple of months after. But I didn't really spend much time in downtown Kansas City. We were out in the suburbs, but great food. Saw Arrowhead and whatever the Royals Stadium is called. They're right next to each other.
Kaufman.
Is that what it's called? They were cool.
Yeah.
They're just kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Do you know the wildest thing about Kaufman and Arrowhead is that if you look at it from an aerial view, and then you go to Google, the original plan was to build a portable retractable roof that you could like have on tracks. So if you had a retractable roof over Arrowhead one day and then the next day the Royals were playing and it was raining, you could like move this portable roof over to the Royals stadium to guard it too.
That's
But
pretty
then
cool.
obviously they never in practicality put that up. I don't know if it was a cost thing or whatnot. So it never got actually done, but it's there if they ever need it until they demolish Arrowhead and build a new one. But yeah, I'm excited. My favorite place to get food in Kansas City is actually a place called Kansas City Joe's in Kansas City, Kansas. And it is attached to a gas station. But they have world famous ribs, and the line is always just like out the door. So I went once and I loved it. So that's the first thing we're doing when we get there. But go Eagles! And there's just another reason to root for the Eagles, I guess. So I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, Super Bowls this week. We got a couple news stories to touch on. I'm gonna toss it to Lighting at some point here to start a discussion about something that isn't football related. I didn't task him with this before the episode, so now he's got to think of something. You did tell me that you flooded your basement this weekend, cleaning
Yep, I
your
did do that.
washing machine. That's great. You know what? We're hosting a Super Bowl party. You know, one of my favorite things about hosting the Super Bowl party is it like gives us an excuse to get caught up on like doing minor household tasks that we keep putting off.
That's always the best part of hosting people because you need to make it look a little bit more presentable than normal. So that was actually the one. Okay, that was the one benefit of the whole like having to remove the washer and dryer from their spot in the basement was it gave me an excuse to clean the dryer vent, which I've been meaning to do for the last however many months.
Months. How often is one supposed to clean a dryer vent?
If you are as what's the word I'm looking for?
Type A.
Anal as I am about things, probably I would say every year or two is how often I would like to do it. This is the second time I've done it since we've lived in this house, and this week was our 4-year anniversary of owning the house. So I guess on average every 2 years. It kind of depends on like how long the run is too, and how much
Well,
you use it.
ours is we moved in November of 19. I guess we had our air ducts cleaned. Does that count? I think that came with
Very
a
different.
dryer. No, I know, but it
Oh,
came with like
okay.
a dry. It came with a dryer touch up or something for the outside pipe, which is right next to our front door. So I'm assuming, but that was like June of 20. So I'm sure we might be due for one.
It depends. Like we have, well, I guess you would have dog and cat hair too, because like obviously that you need to clean it a little bit extra with that, which reminds me now I'm due to probably also clean the grates on the back side of my fridge, the cooling grates. Yeah,
There again,
I
another thing I just never do. Am I just a bad homeowner? Maybe.
sometimes I think it drives Michelle crazy. How I'm always like, oh, it's time to do this. We're due to do that. Because in most cases it's preventative, and I don't cause issues like I did this time around. So even though I think it sometimes drives her crazy, it's like, hey, I'm doing it because I want to avoid any major issues, even if none would ever pop up anyways.
See, you cleaning the back of the fridge there, making it more efficient, probably saves you 15 cents in energy a year.
It might. It might also adds
I
to the
think,
life of the refrigerator.
yeah. See, these are the selling points you have to sell to Michelle. That's where we get. I think that's where you get to persuade her
Yes.
on your side. But no, well, let's see. What do? We touched up some paint. We my buddy Tyler just tweeted at me. So every week or every day so far this week, I've found some pro Eagles post on Twitter and tagged my buddy Tyler in it, who's going to be at our Super Bowl party. And he's been doing things like replying, tagging the FBI. So I just got my daily update from Tyler. Today he tagged the Chiefs in my reply about the Eagles. So let's see what else we got. A new sound system downstairs. I told you that a couple weeks ago. Now we did the hiding of the wires. So now all the wires are nice and cleanly hidden. So that's good. We there was a little bit of like gunk buildup on our fireplace, so we spray painted it matte black to match the rest of it. So that's good. What other home improvement things that we did? Just some getting rid of some stuff we didn't need anymore. Yeah. Oh, I shoveled our deck. Oh, God.
I did a lot of getting rid of stuff this weekend as well. I'm a big fan of the one in, one out rule. Like you buy a shirt,
Yes.
you're getting rid of a shirt. You buy a coffee mug, we're getting rid of a coffee mug.
Is that Michelle behind that one too, or
For the most part.
what?
Sometimes
Sammy would never.
sometimes I'm a little overzealous and I like get ready to like sell things or like bring things to Goodwill. And Michelle's like, you can't get rid of this. It has XYZ sentimental value to it. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. So she saves me on a few occasions from making some poor decisions.
Maybe we should be a home improvement podcast.
No, we
I think
shouldn't.
Sammy's a 3 in, 1 out kind of person. She buys 3 shirts and then she'll maybe get rid of like 1.
See, I'll do the opposite. I'll buy 1 and I'll get rid of 3.
Yeah, I like to keep a good. What I do is, if it's a shirt I'm thinking about getting rid of, I'll put it in like layaway under the bed or something for like 6 months, and then every 6 months I check that bucket and be like, no, do I miss this shirt? Nah, I haven't thought about it in 6 months, and I just get rid of it.
Have you heard of the trick where you flip all your hangers the opposite direction?
I
And
could
then
never.
it's like, so rather than like going in straight, you put them in backwards. So then after X number of months, any hanger that hasn't been reversed, you have to have a serious conversation like, okay, did I not wear this because I don't wear this? Or did I not wear this because it's a dress shirt that I only wear to weddings or whatever?
If all my hangers aren't facing the same direction, I would like convulse in my closet.
Do you color code your closet as well?
No, it goes in order by type of shirt. Like all my shirts are hanging up, so it goes in, like long sleeve, quarter zip, thick quarter zip, t-shirt. It goes in order chronological, but all my hangers are black.
I'm not that extreme. I do have it color coordinated and by type of shirt, but not all the same hanger.
You're not that extreme. You just have it color
No.
coordinated.
Yeah. I'm colorblind, man. I got to help myself out.
I think you've told me this before. What is the color blindness? Is it like some colors just don't stick out as much?
Try explaining to someone the English language that only speaks some indigenous language from a village in Africa you've never visited.
So tough.
Very tough. Because here's the deal. Like, I can see colors. You can see this nice fire behind me. I can tell
Yeah.
that, flames are yellow, orange, red, whatever. I know the sky's blue, grass is green, snow is white, fire trucks are red. Because my entire life I've been told the sky's blue, fire trucks are red, grass is green, etc. Um, where it starts to get difficult is how different colors interact with one another and how they can cancel each other out, so to speak. So, like, you get some colors next to each other. Sometimes they wash each other out, and they'll both look like a similar color. I'm sure things aren't as vibrant to me, but I don't know because I don't know what you see. Um, so, yeah, it's kind of tough to explain. I
Yeah, I
just know
get
I
that.
can't pass a color vision test to save my life.
I mean, I have my own sets of issues with the eyes. I'm without my glasses, I wouldn't be able to see anything. So if I took the vision test, I would fail without glasses. On the back of my license, it says cannot drive without glasses on.
That's
So
what my pilot's license says, but not that. It says can't fly by light gun signal because if you don't have a radio, they have light guns signals they can shoot at you.
I don't know where I was going to segue from there. I had something. Oh, so when I see a promising upcoming off seasons for the Chicago Bears, you might not see the same thing.
Correct. Correct. I
So
struggle with
that
blue
was
and orange.
that was the segue I was looking for. I just had to think of it. Yeah, I mean, we can get to some football. I'm still gonna challenge you to come back to something non-football related here in a bit. But football news: the Sean Payton trade that we discussed last week that might happen did happen with the Denver Broncos. The Broncos traded their late round first round pick to the Saints and next year's second round pick for the rights to Sean Payton. And I believe he signed a 5-year contract thereabouts. So I think it's time for Russell Wilson to cook now.
It might be. I mean, who better to save Russell Wilson's fleeting years of his career than Sean Payton, who saved Drew Brees' fleeting years of his career? I can't wait for some receiver on the Broncos to lead the NFL in receptions, and it's all 6-yard slants.
I don't know. Michael Thomas is. No, he's not very good. Sorry. I was about to say something because he's potentially a cap casualty that the Bears can pursue, but I don't know if I want him on my team. Yeah, Cortland Sutton's about to go off, I bet, right? Something like that. You had a theory about Sean Payton. Yeah, the Packers get all this stick about choking, and Mike McCarthy has his resume dissected all the time for lack of playoff success. What about Sean Payton?
So my argument is more McCarthy straight up versus Payton, not necessarily Packers versus Saints. I mean, that's the homer in me. Obviously, I look at the Packers side more. But if you look at their two resumes side by side, did I tweet that at you?
You did something. I can't remember if you texted or tweeted at me,
But I
but
don't
it's
have the
very
exact.
similar.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers exactly in front of my face right now, but it's essentially their win-loss record is within 3 or 4 games of each other.
Yeah, so I found the tweet that you referenced. The guy on the left, being Sean Payton, is 161 and 97 all time, including playoffs, with 9 playoff appearances, 1 Super Bowl appearance, and 1 Super Bowl win. The guy on the right, being Mike McCarthy, is 166 and 107 and 2. So 5 more wins, 10 more losses, 2 ties, 11 playoff berths. So that's 2 more than Peyton. 1 Super Bowl appearance and 1 Super Bowl, which is the same. So basically, what we're saying is Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton are basically the same coach.
So that's kind of my question. I've been on record joking about Mike McCarthy's questionable decision making sometimes in big games and getting too conservative in big games late in the game. But other than that, why doesn't Sean Payton catch more flack? Like, why does he get, I don't want to say a pass because he was a great coach, so I wouldn't really call it a pass, but why doesn't he get any level of criticism like McCarthy does for, I'm doing air quotes, only winning 1 Super Bowl with a future Hall of Famer? Again, air
So,
quotes.
2 potential reasons. One is I think, sure, you could say that the Packers had their fair share of unfortunate bounces. The two that stick out in my head for the Saints is the Minneapolis Miracle. That play shouldn't have happened, right? Like that was just idiotic defending and a whiff on a tackle. And then the pass interference against the Rams that was blatantly not called, where they had to change a rule to accommodate such a travesty in officiating. You can have a couple of those caveats and be like, wow, I don't know if they should have lost those games. The other reason is Sean Payton inherited a terrible team in New Orleans and really built that up to be a smooth running, successful operation versus McCarthy started when? 06, 05?
I think it was '06.
And he inherited a future Hall of Fame quarterback and for all intents and purposes a super good team.
The one thing I will say though is like McCarthy revived the end of Favre's career.
It's true.
If you know what I mean, like he kind of
He made him better.
That like '07 season where Favre was like vintage Favre. It was like, whoa, where's this been the last couple of years?
Why did Favre leave voluntarily? Was he out of a contract? What happened there after 07?
Very similar to what's happening right now, my friend. Aaron Rodgers fell to the Packers in the '05 draft. They drafted him because the future of Favre was very much unknown because he was doing his Favre Watch thing every year. Rodgers was coming up on the end of his rookie contract. The team was very confident in Rodgers being the next man up, and they were sick and tired of being, held hostage by what Favre's decision was going to be. And some say the Packers kind of pushed Favre towards retirement. Some say Favre came to that decision on his own, but Favre announced his retirement in March of '07 after losing the NFC Championship game to the Giants at home. And coming into training camp, Favre decided he wanted to come back, but at that point the Packers had already moved on from him because he said he'd retired, and they said, sorry, Aaron's our guy. And eventually ended up trading Favre, obviously, to the New York Jets.
Last episode, you had said something along the lines of, well, Matthew, I just wanted you to know that my mom found that very funny.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Because you just said, well, my friend, and I'm like, oh, here it comes again.
The only other thing I'll say on McCarthy as well is players play. Like, obviously, players are who they are, and they're talented because of the work they put in and the God-given skill that they have. But McCarthy's also the one that sort of kind of developed Aaron Rodgers early in his career. I don't think you can take that away from him either. Again, players play. Rodgers is going to be the guy he is, most likely, with a lot of other coaches. But I still think there's a little credit you have to give to the guy.
I think I'll agree that I think both coaches are pretty good because you also look at Sean Payton, who acquired a Drew Brees that was coming off a catastrophic shoulder injury, not really knowing what they had in him and if he could still play at the same level that he did in San Diego. And, I mean, Sean Payton got him to blossom in that system. And they found a guy like Marquise Colston out of Hofstra, of all places, that set several franchise records in receiving for the team. Like, I don't know. I think there's definitely points in the season, especially around playoff time, where Sean Payton was like, wow, why did you just ghost on us? But at the end of the day, I think he made that team better for a good majority of the years that he was there.
Yeah, I think McCarthy probably also catches more flack because a lot of times he just sounded like a meathead in his press conferences. And sometimes perception's reality.
Yeah. It might be the way that they lost. Because, the Vikings game against the Saints before COVID, where the Kirk Cousins went to New Orleans and won. Like, the Vikings had a decent game. The Saints had a decent game. The Vikings just ended up, scoring one more time than the Saints did, or I think it was a late fade to Rudolph for the win or something. It's just like, to me, I don't think the Saints choked that away necessarily. I just think they just got, outplayed. Versus, how many times did the Packers just lose in heartbreaking fashion under McCarthy?
I think that also had more to do with who McCarthy trusted with some other duties rather than his own coaching abilities, which in of itself is an indictment on him as a head coach and who he selects, I guess.
And you talk about parallels. What about your current coach? Feels like the same thing.
Yeah, it is. It's very similar.
Who's is this? This is part of the script.
This is why I use the phrase mental pretzel all the time, but that's why everyone in the state of Wisconsin's in a mental pretzel because it's like the script is just being replayed 15 years later. It's
I,
insane.
I forgot to add that to my list of things to talk about. This nonsense that Arian Foster went on to some affiliate of Barstool or whatever and said that the whole of the NFL is scripted and that he at the Houston Texans would get their script, before in practice or before the season started. And it's just like the internet had a field day.
He's the co-host of that podcast, and it's actually one of the few I listen to pretty regularly. And I've actually really grown to enjoy Arian. I don't agree with everything he says, but I have to like give the guy props because every theory he has and every belief he has, it's well founded. Like he's put a lot of effort into researching it. But it was hilarious when like he said that because I was like, oh, this will probably go like kind of viral for being funny, and then like half the NFL latched onto it and started quote tweeting it about like, yeah, man, when I saw the script about this or the script said I was supposed to give up 200 to Jamar or whatever,
Yeah,
like,
that was one of my favorites. Marlon Humphrey being like, "Oh, when I saw the script saying that I had to give up 200 to Jamar Chase," it was like, or Nick Foles getting a copy of his script before the Super Bowl season.
yep, yep.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the conspiracy theorists out there took it a little too far, but like the kind of the jokey tweets about it were kind of funny and worth it. But yes, we will patiently await the script for this season. I think if I got the script for the season saying that the Bears would finish with the first overall pick and the most cap space after starting out 1-0 against the 49ers, may have had some questions. I would have been very very shocked after week 1 to be like, "Yo, what's going on here?" So,
Hollywood can't write a script this good.
they can't, but they can determine that Chicago is going to have just 4 inches of rain on game day in week 1. So good on the NFL for scripting that.
Yep.
Very well done. What else happened this week? I need a segment on this podcast where we can bring on my brother Jay to give us legal recourse on some things happening around the NFL. Joe Mixon had a warrant issued for his arrest for allegedly pointing a gun at a woman in downtown Cincinnati the week before the Bills game. Since the warrant was issued, it has been dismissed. The question I have for Jay is it legal to point a weapon at somebody?
I feel like that's got to be some sort of like,
I think they described it as menacing.
yeah.
I obviously know that the answer is yes, but I just want to know what like the law says about that and like what the punishments are potentially for just
Oh,
pointing
here
a
we
gun
go.
at somebody.
Section 2903.21, aggravated menacing. No person shall knowingly cause another to believe that the offender will cause serious physical harm to the person or property of the other person.
Well, hang on a second. At Road America, you said if I didn't roll a 6, you're going to kneecap me.
Yeah, but that wasn't in the state of Ohio, so.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I forgot we were in the lawless Wisconsin where anything goes.
But Sheboygan County, it's a lawless place with no prisoners. We're the people's police.
All right. Well, I think what I need to do is make a poster of aggravated menacing and put it on the campsite, and I'll just point at it anytime I feel threatened for not doing something in duck game.
That's fair. This is I'm continuing to read. Aggravated menacing is a felony of the 5th degree. As I read on.
Damn, so you can't vote?
I guess.
Damn.
Oh wait, no, that's if there's other prereqs. Hold on. This is too complicated.
All right. See, Jay, need your input. Text me. So we talked about Brock Purdy last week. He did end up tearing his UCL in his elbow, which is going to go ahead and say that's probably why he couldn't throw the football.
That'll
So
happen.
now that question is he could potentially be out 6 months to a full season or full year from the injury. So the 49ers, who were set to cruise into the offseason with a couple of questions at quarterbacks, now have a lot of questions at quarterback. Jimmy G won't be returning to the team, but now with this Purdy, diagnosis, what is he going to do? Is he just going to let it rest? Is he going to get Tommy John surgery? Are they going to do some other minor surgery? Do they keep Trey Lance now? I think the 49ers offseason just got a little trickier based off of this injury for Purdy.
It's the perfect timing. He'll be perfectly healthy for their Super Bowl run next season.
First play of playoffs, Trey Lance gets hurt. Brock Purdy comes in and saves the day again.
Yep.
So, but Jimmy G won't be back, and I know there's a couple teams out there looking for a veteran QB. So that'll be an option for some. The Texans did hire D'Amico Ryans, defensive coordinator from the 49ers, as their head coach. D'Amico was a middle linebacker for the team for many years prior to becoming a coach. So I love that hire. I think we're going to give our full grades once the other 2 openings are rounded out. So that'll be 5 total coach grades we'll have to give. But I do like that one a lot. So I think the Texans are in good hands for sure.
So funny story on D'Amico. So speaking of Arian Foster and the other podcast he's on, Macrodosing, he obviously played with D'Amico Ryans, and apparently after D'Amico left Houston and went to Philly, he sued the Houston Texans.
For?
He claimed that their playing surface was the reason for one of his injuries.
That's relevant. I saw this week the Titans were switching to turf. It's like, wait a second. Like, isn't this the opposite of... Yeah,
I know, we're like anti-turf.
Yeah. Also, it's kind of funny they're going through all that trouble given that they're building a new stadium anyways. But
I know, I don't get that.
Yeah, so good for the Texans, I think, though. That'll be good. I guess they got over it or they settled somehow, but... The Pro Bowl was this weekend. There was a Pro Bowl skills competition and then a flag football game. I am guessing you didn't watch too much of it.
I saw, what did I see? I saw something earlier they started doing stuff on like Thursday and Friday, right?
Yeah, they did some like pre-staged catch thing.
Was that like the dunk contest, but catching passes instead?
No, this one was like Matt Leinart standing on the Eiffel Tower at Paris, throwing the football 5 stories down to Justin Jefferson kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that. I feel like I saw something on Thursday or Friday, but I don't really remember. And then yesterday, as I was doing stuff around the house, I had it on in the background. So I saw some of the like 7-on-7 flag football, and then I also saw the offensive lineman contest, which was probably my favorite one that I got to witness.
I actually didn't hate the flag football. I just wish there was some sort of way, because when we played flag football in college, it was like you could have 2 people pressure after like a 2 apple count or something.
Yep.
And then in this one, there was just 1 person snapping the ball and 1 person pressuring, and then I think you got 1 blitz in the red zone or something. So I wish we saw a little more pressure on the QBs, but I actually didn't hate it. We had it on the background at my parents' house when we were playing games and eating dinner. But I think I liked it more than just the standard old 11-on-11 Pro Bowl that we've seen in the past couple of years, because people don't try in that. Versus this one, like, the receivers and defenders were legitimately trying, because, if you don't have to tackle anybody, you're going to put in a little more effort, because chances of you getting hurt are super low. So I didn't hate it. It was kind of fun to watch them go one-on-one.
I was actually surprised at the amount of people that were there too.
Yeah, Vegas is a great venue for it. I don't even know if we have to like rotate this. Maybe that's gonna be the new like.
Isn't that where it was last year?
Yeah,
it was, because Alvin Kamara got arrested.
Yeah. Why did nothing happen from that one either, Jay?
I think it's probably still in like pre-trial, or I don't know. Who knows? I'm just kidding. That's just a phrase. I don't know what it means.
Noted not legal experts Hickey and Lighting give their take on law. Yeah, that's funny. Last thing I got before we get to the Super Bowl. Well, actually, sorry. Devontae Adams is trying to recruit Aaron Rodgers to Las Vegas, which is funny because he just had that guy last year and then actively forced his way out, but now he wants his quarterback back. So does Devontae Adams just hate Green Bay? Is that what I'm getting here?
You can interpret that however you'd like. I think Devontae Adams preferred to play football with his best friend, and then his best friend got booted from the team, and he figured, well, I'm making a shit pile of money, so it'd be cool if that other guy that I had a really good connection with could come play here.
Yeah, I think the cynical bastard in me just says that he hates Green Bay, and I'm just going to stick with that.
That's all right.
I'm not projecting. It's fine.
He apparently they're also trying to recruit Mercedes Lewis as well, which
God.
noted Packers legendary blocking tight end.
It's like when a GM gets fired and becomes an assistant GM elsewhere, and they start bringing in all the former players that they drafted.
Yeah, it's like the
Like
transfer portal.
it's like you just got fired for a reason, and you're still bringing in the same pieces with you that got you fired.
Yeah.
I know it's a little different because they were a good team with this kind of players leading the team, but
I did. I don't want to beat this one like a dead horse because it's all I see anywhere on the internet. But I did see a funny hypothetical, and the hypotheticals are just killing me. But this one, I don't know how realistic it actually was, but it involved the Packers trading away their first round. Or no, what was it? It involved the Packers trading Rodgers to the Raiders in exchange for the Raiders' first round, the Raiders' second round, and Darren Waller. Um,
I hate that
for the Packers or for the Raiders?
for the Raiders.
It's a lot to give up.
Could you imagine the Packers picking 7? I would shit myself.
Well, then the Packers would then in the hypothetical, it has the Packers trading the 7th to Arizona in exchange for the Packers' first from the Raiders, the second and the third, and then drafting your boy Will Anderson with the 3rd overall pick.
That's just never gonna happen.
And then Jalen Hyatt with their 15th pick because they would retain that. I saw that and I was like, man, this is so unrealistic, but I could actually get behind this one.
Did you see Big Cat's hypothetical
Yes.
NBA trade that would get?
Yes.
The Bulls would get Giannis, Luca, and I think like Kyrie or something.
He did another Packers hypothetical that was like with some
The St. Louis
USFL team.
Battlehawks.
Yeah.
How funny would it be if Aaron Rodgers had to go to the USFL?
So funny. But here's where I land on this whole thing. Ultimately, like we're acting like Aaron controls his own destiny, which he does not in this situation. Like as much as he may think that he wants to, the Packers are only going to trade to a team that they think is a fair trade and a city where they would like him to end up. Now, maybe Oakland or not Oakland, maybe Vegas does make sense. But just get through the Super Bowl and then deal with it, I guess.
Yeah. Call me an asshole. I don't care how long you played for the team or what you did to the franchise. It comes down to what the franchise wants. It's not really up to you.
No.
That's just my like. He's shocked that he's not being included in the discussions. Sorry, dude. That's just the way the business works.
Especially at this point when you're parting ways, like maybe don't want to shaft the guy entirely, but you're gonna, like you said, ultimately do what's like you're not gonna intentionally screw a guy over, but you are intentionally going to do what is best for you as a franchise.
Right. So, yeah. And then the last one I got before we get to the Super Bowl is Tom Brady has retired again. So the GOAT is done, and I think for this time it's for good. He's sounding like it's for good. So, great career, future Hall of Famer. The only thing I'm a little worried about is I hope he doesn't replace Greg Olson on Fox because apparently Brady has a 10-year, $350 million deal with Fox signed to be an analyst. I just hope he doesn't get in the booth and.
Well, according to the Colin Cowherd's tweet from about an hour ago, maybe 2 hours ago, he starts with Fox in fall of 2024.
Oh, okay. Well, still. I mean, with that kind of money, he's probably going to be in the number one booth. But I just hope he isn't.
Oh, I guess he told Cowherd on his show. I wonder if they would ever do a thing where it's like 3 guys in the booth like they did with Aikman and Collinsworth and Joe Buck.
Super Bowl time. only really noteworthy news about the teams prior to the Super Bowl is that it sounds like McCole Hardman for the Chiefs is going to be out for the game with an injury for his hip. So other than that, it looks like everybody's good to go, that we are expecting to be good to go. So there was a debate that came up this week that Nick Sirianni is overrated and anybody could coach a team of this caliber that the Eagles have to success. Where do you land on that?
Well, I kind of said it earlier. Players play. Ultimately, the coaches play less of a role in that, but I, I don't know. It's hard for me to say if a coach is overrated or not, especially in this case because it seems as though he has gotten more out of Jalen Hurts or helped get him to a level that a lot of people didn't think he would eventually get to. So I think it's hard to discredit Sirianni from that standpoint. Again, Jalen Hurts ultimately leads and owns Jalen Hurts' own destiny, but I think there's something to be said for accelerating development.
Yeah, and how many teams have we seen with really good rosters that just didn't live up to the hype? I mean, I'm looking at the list of rosters this year that were underwhelming as far as results. I think the Buccaneers had themselves a really good roster. They had a kind of up and down the board. They had a lot of really talented people on there. Um, the maybe the Ravens. I know they didn't have Lamar in the playoffs, but that's a really good roster. That was underwhelming.
Chargers.
Chargers had a really good roster. For them to blow a 28-point lead or a 30-point lead or whatever it was is inexcusable. Even the Jets, minus a quarterback, I think the Jets had a really good roster, and we've seen teams that have lackluster QB situations that still make it work. So I tend to side that Nick Sirianni is not the best coach in football, but I definitely think he pulled his weight to help that team this year for sure. So
Yeah.
and when he wins the Super Bowl and gets to laugh at everybody, I think he'll enjoy it.
So interestingly enough, although I think it's something like 70% of the money is on or maybe not money, but 70% of the bets or something like that is on the Eagles, which is kind of nuts that it's that skewed in this game. So clearly we know where people are leaning. But I found it very interesting that obviously both teams only lost 3 games this year. They have the exact same points scored in the regular season, like to a single point, like not even a slight difference. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
What are you guys doing for the Super Bowl this year?
Sitting at home and probably going to make some homemade pizza / tacos with some friends in the area.
Nice.
Yep. It's kind of our tradition now.
We are having a party at our house, and it's going to be a good time. Everybody's bringing over some food. We've got a 4th keg of beer, Coors Light, because it was our 3 domestic options was Coors Light, Miller Light, and Bud Light. And I'll side with Coors Light on that one. And yeah, it's gonna be a good time, and I really enjoy the Super Bowl. It's one of my favorite days of the year. I saw this on Twitter this morning. What was the first memory you ever had of the Super Bowl?
Probably the kickoff return in the Giants-Ravens Super Bowl.
Mine was, I don't know, I think they were just really good friends for a long time there. My dad's buddy Tim, they had us over for like a Super Bowl watch party, and I believe it was the Rams-Titans year, and we each had like a thing where, if your play happened, then you would win a prize or something. So I think I had like flag, so I won like immediately because flags happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I got this like hockey net thing that I could use in like the front yard or backyard or whatever to shoot tennis balls at or something. So I was pretty jacked for that. I think that's the first thing I ever remember about the Super Bowl. It's kind of wild how important it is in our pop culture in America. I know like people around the world watch the Super Bowl, but literally it's a day that America kind of comes together to watch football because I think a good 40% of Americans are watching the game.
I have a bit of a hot take.
I have a bit of a hot take too, but go ahead.
I don't think Super Bowl Sunday is in my top 5 favorite NFL days of the year.
I think it's a good celebration of the season and it's a good excuse to hang out with everybody. And the game, I think the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl is really intense, but the game itself is usually above average. I wouldn't say it's the greatest game.
I would agree. I think maybe because from a football standpoint, so many other things get the attention taken away from the game itself. The halftime show, the commercials, the just the broadcast itself. I don't know. It just to me, it's less about football than it is about everything else. Sometimes, like
That's
even the last time. Oh, by the way, happy 12-year anniversary to all those that celebrate for the Packers winning the Super Bowl. Glad to know that was already 12 years ago. But where I was going with that is when I think back to like that season, like after the game, it was awesome, like celebrating with friends and stuff. But the game itself, I just remember I was like nervous the whole game, but I still don't know if that was my favorite game of that like playoff run, which is kind of crazy to think about. I don't know.
I get it. I get where you're coming from.
What's your hot take?
My hot take is either one of two things. Either the Super Bowl needs to be on a Saturday, or they need to pass a law saying that the Monday after the Super Bowl is a recognized holiday that everybody gets off of work.
Here's the deal. I still don't get off of work for like Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but I know a lot of workplaces get off, so I have a feeling until those days are holidays for the entire country, federal holidays, then you can say bye to the Monday after ever being a federal holiday.
That's true. I mean, my last job we got MLK off, and this one we don't. So
I'm on board with it being a Saturday, though. I could get behind that for sure.
I don't
It's better
understand why it's
than
not. There's no
it's
conflicts.
it's better than the national championship game being on a Monday night.
That is purely for conflict, though. They just do that to avoid the NFL. But it's college football's over. If they put it on a Saturday, they can dictate what everybody else does. The NHL wouldn't schedule anything, NBA, et cetera, et cetera. I think it would be a lot better for a lot of people. I know a bunch of my friends and people I know end up taking the Monday after off anyways, just so they can like recoup from a weekend. Because it's a lot of socializing. It's a lot of junk food. And then if you're the type of person that partakes, there's potentially a lot of booze involved. And so it's just a tough day on the body for the next day if you are one who likes to celebrate. So,
Did you
yeah,
go to any of the Super Bowl activities in Minneapolis 5 years ago?
sure did. What a great time that was. How often is the Super Bowl going to be in Minneapolis? So I feel like we owed it just to like go down and see what the environment was like. I remember it being balls cold that day. And the other thing is I distinctly remember being able to point out who was a Patriots fan purely by the way they looked. If they weren't even wearing a Patriots anything, you could tell that they were a Patriots fan just because they had those like chopper gloves, like chino looking pants, boots, and some like Carhartt jacket. Like without fail, all the guys that were Patriots fans looked pretty much the same, which was wild to me. Especially since if you're a Patriots fan going to the Super Bowl, you probably have to be of some means. So
Yep.
they all kind of looked upper
I looked
classy.
I looked at the cheapest tickets available this morning, and they were going for like $7,000 or $7,500.
Yeah, pass. If you are gonna go to the Super Bowl, like to me, I'd rather go to a Super Bowl as a neutral and just enjoy the experience. And therefore, I would buy my ticket in, like September, because as soon as the teams get released, that's when the prices go up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would stress too much if I went to a Super Bowl that had the Bears in it. I don't like you were saying where you were stressing about the game and then got to enjoy it after. If I was at the game, I don't feel like I would enjoy it. If it was Chiefs Eagles, like I would just have a ball. I would just be having a great time, laughing my ass off, enjoying the experience.
That's fair.
So, rounding out the episode here,
Who's your official
what are
pick?
the Eagles? What do the Eagles need to do to win the game?
Stop Patrick Mahomes from being Patrick Mahomes. I think is what it comes down to. Because the Eagles' offense is going to put up points. Their defense is so good that if their defense plays as good as they have all season, that's the way to seal it.
And what do the Chiefs need to do to win?
Force a Jalen Hurts turnover in a big game.
Easier said than done, but yeah,
And
I think
and
that kind of boils
and
it
I
down.
would say don't let the Eagles get ahead early.
Yeah, if they can get a touchdown and then force like a 3-and-out on the Eagles, I think that'd be perfect start for the Chiefs. They could really dictate the game from there. I do think whoever ends up dictating the game is gonna be the team that wins. I don't foresee a large comeback from either team happening if they get down by 2+ possessions.
Please clip this. Because now it's
Okay.
going to happen. You just spoke that into existence.
That's not how this works, David.
I think it does.
Okay. So I think, yeah, I genuinely think that there's not going to be a large comeback, but that's just me. And are you going Eagles or Chiefs for the win?
My heart wants to go with the Chiefs, but my head says the Eagles. But more times than not, I make heart-based selections, so I'll go with the Chiefs.
I don't even have to text you this week, and you just made your last pick of the season.
I did. Nick Rod was giving me a hard time because you swept me in championship weekend. So
Yes, I won 2 games. I'm so proud of myself.
he's like, I don't know, man. I got to go with Hickey more than you in these picks this year. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm leading overall. I was like, he did sweep me championship weekend, though. He's like, oh,
You're
that's
leading
probably
by
it.
3. It's not like it's egregious.
Well, exactly. Still.
Thanks, Nick Rod. I appreciate you. I think Sorry, I forgot. I was gonna put you on the spot for a non-football thing before we signed off. Did you think of one?
Yeah, I did. Do you guys feed human food to Indy at all?
Very rarely. If I like drop a chip on the floor, I'll give it to her. Or we never feed her at the dinner table, and it's like a table scrappy type food.
Is there a human food that you feel no guilt feeding her?
I want to give her a steak on her birthday, but Sammy says no. That she says that's a no go. I think I always try to share a piece of bacon with her if I'm making bacon.
That's fair.
Why? What's yours?
I was eating blueberries for lunch today, and I like giving Miller frozen blueberries in the summer. We like to hide them around the house, and then he's got to hunt them out or in the backyard or whatever. And then also bananas. Big, big little. Wow, I said that so messed up. A big fan of giving him little pieces of bananas.
Clip that.
Clip that. The big little.
One last question. So, if you were coming to our Super Bowl party, and let's say Michelle was driving, and therefore you could enjoy yourself on the alcohol front if you wanted to, you would get assigned a football term that you would have to monitor during the game. So, for you, it could be false start. Anytime there is a false start, since that's your turn for the game, you would have to come up in front of everybody and spin this wheel. And whatever, it's like, it's broken down into like pie segments, like a normal wheel. Whatever segment it lands on, you have to do one of the 2 tasks. There's a drinking one and a non-drinking one.
Yep.
Would you rather take 1 shot or be the keg pourer for the next 20 minutes?
Shot. Actually, I don't know. I think I would enjoy the keg pouring because I'd get to interact with a lot of people in a short amount of time.
God, you're too nice.
Yep,
Why are
I'm
you
going
so
keg.
social? I try to avoid human contact as much as possible. Although I'm going to like everybody that's at the party, so that's a little different, I guess. But
That helps.
if I was at like your party and didn't know anybody, I would not be keg pouring because I'd be like, "Leave me
Exactly.
alone." That's it. Super Bowl's upon us. Eagles Chiefs. Full recap coming next week, and then we'll hit a little bit of a lull as we take a break for a week or 2, but we'll jump back on if there's anything interesting to talk about. But I think we're gonna recap Super Bowl next week, round out the season, maybe dish out some awards, and then take a break for a little bit. But we appreciate everybody's support and listening, and hope you guys all enjoy the Super Bowl.